A homeless-looking teenage boy grabbed a billionaire's arm in front of 200 people. 4 words. That's all he said. "Don't move. Follow me." 3 seconds later, the billionaire's own car exploded into a wall of fire. If that boy had waited even one more breath, this story would not exist. Stay with me, because what happens next will change the way you see every stranger you walk past. The street outside the Meridian Grand Hotel was packed that morning. Cameras, reporters, security in black suits with wires curling behind their ears. In the middle of it all stood Daniel Harrison, 51 years old, worth more money than some entire countries, and about to sign the biggest deal of his career. He never got the chance, because standing at the edge of the crowd, half hidden behind a delivery cart, was a 16-year-old boy nobody had bothered to look at twice. His name was Marcus. And in the next 10 seconds, he was about to become the only reason Daniel Harrison was still breathing. Before we go further, if stories like this move you, stories about courage nobody expects, kindness that shows up in the most unlikely places, hit that subscribe button right now and tap the like button so more people find this story. It genuinely helps us keep telling them. Now, back to Marcus. To the world, Daniel Harrison had everything. Private jets, skyscrapers with his name on them, a driver, a chef, a security team of 12 men who would take a bullet without blinking. Magazines called him a genius. Investors called him untouchable. Employees called him, quietly, the machine, because in 15 years, no one had ever seen him show real emotion in a boardroom. But behind the tailored suits and the practiced smile was a man who hadn't had a real conversation in years. Not with his driver, not with his assistant, not even with his own reflection. Success had built him an empire. It had also built him a cage. Every hour of his life was scheduled. Every handshake was calculated. He hadn't looked a stranger in the eye, really looked, in longer than he could remember. Until today. 12 blocks away, in a part of the city the news cameras never pointed at, Marcus woke up at 5:30 that morning like he did every day. His mother worked 2 jobs and was rarely home before dark. His 8-year-old sister Zoe depended on him to walk her to school, to make sure she ate breakfast, to be the man of the house at 16 because there was no other choice. Marcus didn't own much. An old backpack with a broken zipper, a pair of sneakers held together with tape. But inside that backpack was something no one could see just by looking at him. Notebooks full of circuit diagrams, half-built inventions, dreams of becoming an engineer that felt, most days, impossible to reach. People crossed the street when they saw him coming. Store owners watched him a little too closely. Nobody ever stopped to ask his name. They had no idea that the boy they looked away from had the sharpest eyes on that entire street. That morning, Marcus was walking past the Meridian Grand on his way to sell a repaired laptop, rent money for his mother, tucked carefully in his backpack. That's when he saw it. A maintenance van. No company name. No logo. Parked exactly where it shouldn't be. 2 men inside who weren't fixing anything. They were watching the hotel's revolving doors like they were waiting for someone. Marcus almost kept walking. It wasn't his business. He had a laptop to sell, a sister to pick up, a life that had already taught him to keep his head down and mind his own path. But then he saw something else. Wiring. Thin, dark, deliberately hidden beneath the frame of the luxury sedan parked at the curb, the exact car the security team was standing beside. Marcus had spent 3 years taking apart broken electronics to fix and resell. He knew what wiring was supposed to look like. This wasn't supposed to be there. His stomach dropped. His hands went cold. Something terrible was about to happen, and he was the only person on that entire street who could see it. For one long second, Marcus stood frozen. If he shouted, if he screamed the word bomb in the middle of a crowded street, Pure panic, a stampede, people trampled, maybe worse. If he said nothing, he already knew what would happen next. So Marcus did something that took more courage than most adults will ever find in their entire lives. He walked straight toward 12 armed bodyguards, past a wall of cameras, straight up to one of the richest men in the country, and he reached out and grabbed his sleeve. The bodyguards moved instantly, hands reaching for him, ready to pull him away. But Marcus didn't let go. He looked Daniel Harrison directly in the eyes and said the only words he had time for. "Don't move. Follow me." Something in the boy's voice, raw, urgent, terrified but certain, made Daniel do the one thing that had never happened to him in 15 years. He listened to a stranger. 3 steps. That's all it took. 3 steps away from that car, guided by a teenage boy in torn sneakers, and the world behind them erupted. A deafening blast. A wall of fire and black smoke swallowing the exact spot where Daniel Harrison had been standing seconds before. Glass shattering for a full block. Screams. Chaos. People running in every direction. Security finally reacting. Radios exploding with panicked voices. When the smoke cleared, one truth stood there. Undeniable. If Marcus had hesitated even 3 more seconds, Daniel Harrison would be dead. And the boy who saved his life was already trying to slip back into the crowd, like he hadn't just changed everything. If you're still with me right now, do me a favor, drop a comment, and tell me where you're watching this from. It means more than you know, and it helps this story reach someone who needs it today. Now, let's find out what happened next. Investigators swarmed the scene within minutes. It was confirmed this hadn't been an accident. It was a deliberate, professional assassination attempt, months in the planning. Daniel gave his statement in a daze, his hands still shaking, but his mind kept circling back to one thing: the boy. He turned to ask him a question and found Marcus already 20 feet away, trying to disappear into the crowd like he hadn't just saved a man's entire future. "Wait!" Daniel called out. For the first time in years, his voice wasn't the voice of a CEO giving an order. It was just a man, asking a stranger to please not walk away yet. Marcus stopped. For the first time in 15 years, Daniel Harrison looked at another human being and didn't see a title, a transaction, or a threat. He saw courage, standing right in front of him, wearing a backpack with a broken zipper. Daniel could have sent a check, could have had his assistant handle it with a phone call and a press release about corporate generosity. Instead, 3 days later, with no cameras and no reporters, Daniel Harrison did something none of his board members would have believed. He got in his car alone and drove 12 blocks to a part of the city he had never once set foot in. He found a small apartment with a leaking ceiling. He found Marcus's mother, exhausted from 2 jobs, still finding the strength to smile the moment she walked through the door. He found 8-year-old Zoe doing her homework at a kitchen table held together with duct tape because her big brother had taught her that broken things can still be useful if you care enough to fix them. And Daniel realized something that hit him harder than the explosion had. This apartment, small, worn, imperfect, had more real warmth in it than his entire $50 million penthouse. Somewhere along the way, in all his years of building an empire, Daniel Harrison had forgotten what it felt like to be around people who had nothing to gain from him. Marcus had nothing to gain, and he had saved his life anyway. Daniel didn't offer Marcus money that day. He offered something far more powerful: a full university scholarship, a personal mentor, one of the lead engineers at his own company. And soon after, funding for a brand new community technology center, built right in Marcus's neighborhood, where kids just like him could learn robotics and coding for free, without needing a wealthy stranger to almost die first for someone to notice their potential. Marcus didn't take any of it as a handout. He insisted on working for every single opportunity, staying late, studying harder than anyone else, proving again and again that the courage he'd shown on that street wasn't a one-time moment. It was who he was, and slowly, something in Daniel Harrison began to change too. He started showing up to meetings differently, looking his employees in the eye, remembering the names of the people who cleaned his office, who drove his car, who had been invisible to him for years. The boy who saved his life from a bomb had also, without even trying, saved him from something else. Himself. Years later, Marcus graduated at the top of his engineering class. He didn't leave his neighborhood behind. He came back to it, leading real projects, creating real jobs, building the exact kind of opportunity that had once felt impossible for a boy with a broken backpack and a brilliant mind. Daniel would later tell reporters in one of the only truly honest interviews he ever gave that the greatest investment of his entire career wasn't a company, a stock, or a building with his name on it. It was believing in one teenage boy nobody else had bothered to see. The boy who once got crossed streets to avoid became the reason thousands of kids in that same neighborhood started believing their future didn't have to look like their zip code. Daniel said it best, years afterward. Heroes don't always wear suits. Sometimes they wear torn sneakers and carry an old backpack, and they choose courage in the one ordinary moment when everyone else stays silent. One boy, 4 words, 3 seconds. That's all it took to prove that kindness, courage, and brilliance were never about how much money is in your pocket or how you look walking down the street. They were never about being seen by the world. They were about being brave enough to act, even when no one is watching at all. If this story touched you even a little, type the words, "Kindness changes everything," in the comments right now. I read every single one, and I promise you, it matters. Share this with someone who needs a reminder that one small act of courage can change everything. Like this video so it reaches someone who's having a hard week and needs exactly this story today. And if you want more stories like this one, real emotion, real courage, ordinary people doing extraordinary things, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next story might be the one that stays with you the longest. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. That means more than you know. See you in the next one.